And welcome back to the Sideline Chat podcast. Now, today's focus, it shifts to the north of Rugby League World, where it is the Betfred Super League Round 20 debrief as part of Super League Week 21. And we start off with the Wigan Warriors travelling to Headingley Stadium to face the Leeds Rhinos at this point in time. Of course, as it usually is the case, we have no squads announced whatsoever, but we can go off what happened the week prior. Of course, Wigan running in an absolute scoreline against Hull FC, 60 points to 0, while Leeds, with a whole host of talent missing, went down to Toulouse Olympique 20 points to 6.
So I take we're going off by the Wigan Hull FC game first off.
We'll go that way.
Alright. Well, was it the Wigan Warriors or was it more like Bevan French, who single-handedly, I'd say, got Wigan the match, scoring 7 tries.
And that is a Super League record, or surpassing it all the way back from 2005, hence when it was first set. It's in a game between the Bradford Bulls and Hull FC. Yes.
How ironic.
Yes, it is very ironic indeed that at Bradford had the try score or were involved with the very game that the club would concede probably a very hefty defeat right there. I'm just trying to bring that one up right now, but of course, very slow off the mark. But look, Hull FC, it was an absolute shambles from them.
Yeah, it was not a very pretty game for Hull FC indeed. They could not stop Wigan, and it showed. Like, the scoreline showed that they could not be stopped. The defence was non-existent.
It was an absolute landslide that Jai Field and, of course, Bevan French was running absolutely wild.
Yeah.
In this one. You could not contain Bevan French, and Jack Walker got absolutely dacked by French and Field, just from the 101 strips to the left side of Hull, getting absolutely torched. Yeah. It was a very ugly affair for the black and whites.
Which I feel got 2 tries, and Bevan French got 7, so there's 9 tries with them 2 combined, like, seriously.
And then you throw a few extras on the top up as well. It is just an absolute demolition job. And Hull, they can't afford anything more like this.
Well, as I've got here, with a heavy defeat, it's not good at this time of year, especially like with, 7 weeks to run left. Yeah, it's not good if they want to make the playoffs. They need to really massively improve. Like, they did okay the last couple of weeks, and they come against Wigan, which was always going to be a hard task to beat Wigan, especially the form they've been in. And that showed that
the record,
still got a long way to go.
The record Bevan French broke, who to reiterate, was my standout player for this game. 149 run meters, 7 tackle breaks, 5 line breaks, and 7 tries in a single game, surpassing the Super League record set by Leslie Vanicolo of the Bradford Bulls fame, who scored 6 tries in a single game in 2005 against Hull FC.
Yeah. Mate, I've seen Josh Adokar over here in Shelley get 6 tries, and I've seen Edric Lee just recently get 5 tries, and a couple of others that get 5 before. And you've seen 4s, but you don't see 7. I've never ever seen 7 in the whole time watching rugby league across the world. Unbelievable.
And of course, it wouldn't be that way if Harry Smith wasn't icing the goals that came with it.
No, he had another brilliant night off the boot, or afternoon, or whatever it was.
Evening. It was an evening game.
Evening game, yeah. But yeah, absolute thrashing of Hull FC. They'll be not so happy about that.
Well, Matty Pete wanted a response, and he got it after that narrow Magic weekend loss to St Helens.
Yeah, he certainly did there, but good on him. And Bevan French, he deserves to have this week off, I reckon.
Well, he got hooked. He got hooked with about 20 minutes to go. Because apparently they were concerned, the conspiracy theory is, that he would have broken Martin Afaya's record of 10 tries in a single match for the Wigan club, set all the way back in the mid-90s in a Challenge Cup semi-final.
I reckon they should have kept him out and then kept him going. But I don't know why they didn't want to do it, but anyway. It is what it is, and that's what Max Pete wanted to do.
Well, where do Hull go from here after that devastating performance?
They need to go somewhere. And somewhere fast, especially at this time of year when the finals are just around. Sorry,
And then somehow they are still running 6th on the table.
Yeah, but Salford are hunting them down though.
Well, Salford and the other side of the city are getting involved in on the play as well. And of course, the combination Cust and Smith proving very efficient there indeed. But Jai Field, the orchestrator with that, with 4 try assists to his name, as well as another 2 as well.
Yeah, very much so.
But just poor discipline from the Black and Whites made the result much more uglier than it should have been.
Now we should talk about Leeds.
Yes, the Leeds Rhinos becoming the latest victim of Toulouse, with the Olympique now climbing out of the relegation zone with a 20 points to 6 win.
3 in a row now for Toulouse. Good on them. They were off, as we know, to a slow start this year, which was always going to be tough. They managed to beat the reigning premiers in St. Helens, so then they went off again, but now they've won 3 on the trot. That is magnificent work there. And like you said, off the bottom of the table for the first time all year.
Which is a big boost, especially in their quest to stay in Super League for 2023.
Yeah, which now is looking more likely than what it did, say, a month ago.
Oh, arguably.
Month or 2 months ago.
I said this before, Corey Norman, his greatest ever accomplishment could be keeping Toulouse in Super League.
Well, you're going down the right path of saying that.
But there's still a long road to go. We'll touch on that. But look, defensively, Toulouse was sound from the word go.
And the attack too.
2 tries in the first half, and then another one followed up by Joe Breverton, who started the Toulouse comeback from Magic Weekend and the victory against Wakefield.
Yeah.
He bagged another try here, but it's the club. I was probably one of the most loyal so far to the Toulouse cause. Matty Russell, I thought, was another standout performer. 1 try, 212 running meters, 7 tackle breaks, and 2 line breaks, and arguably Toulouse's top try scorer at the moment.
No surprises there, to be quite honest, but yeah. But Leeds, what do we say about them?
Well, they were missing a whole host of first-team talent right here. There's no denying that. No Austin, no Caesar, no... Richie Myler, I believe it was the case. They had Jack Sinfield once again playing in the top flight. So it was an uphill battle. Well, they did actually have Richie Myler in there. But a very rookie spine, to say the least. And losing Liam Sutcliffe in the lead-up as well didn't help the cause either.
No, it certainly didn't. But I have to say, after some decent... You could say the Rhinos were starting to make a bit of a turnaround after the start of the season. But then this just went back.
And 17 errors from the Leeds Rhinos didn't help their case to ace for playoffs either. With 17 errors in a single game, that's simply not good enough. If they did that against Warrington... Well, I suppose Warrington's a bit of a coin flip at the moment. But if they did that against Wigan, Catalan or St. Helens, they would have 60 put on them instantly.
It would be like a similar game with the scoreline of what Wigan did to Hull FC.
Exactly. Now, we don't know for sure whether or not Leeds will get half of these players back. Of course, they're still missing a host whose suspension as well as injury.
Yeah, there's always injuries in that, especially later on in the season. You expect injuries to happen just through fatigue. Well, a bit of fatigue in that as well, but yeah, it's going to be tough. But still, anything can happen. Rugby league's a funny game. Nowhere in the world.
Yes, indeed it is. So, who are you fancying for this one?
Well, Wigan against Leeds, you'd have to go Wigan, surely.
Look, even if Leeds do get all their top players back, the inconsistency has been plaguing them throughout the course of 2022. Wigan's attack is the best attack in the league, and as a Saints fan, I will concede that is the case right there.
It's going to be even if Leeds get like Austin, Caesar and all the likes back, it's still going to be a tough task coming against Wigan that put on 60 against Hull FC. I'm going to go Wigan 13 plus. It's hands down one of the easiest tips of the round.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm going to go with the Wigan Warriors for that one right there. Now, Following up on Saturday morning in local time, the Warrington Wolves playing Hull KR at the Hallowell Jones Stadium, of course. Warrington did not have a good outing in going down to the Casper Tigers 35-22, whilst KR got a narrow home win against Wakefield 15 points to 10.
Yeah, well, Wakefield were on the comeback trail. And finally, the Robins got another win in what feels like forever since their last win, to be quite honest with you. They were going downhill really quickly, but it was against Wakefield, so anything could have happened. Like the rate that the Robins had been blamed, Wakefield could have beaten them, but somehow they pulled it off.
Another tight contest with Trinity's future is now lying in the balance as we speak.
Very much so. Like I said, like you said, I think you said, or I told you off air or whatever, about Magic Week, and said whoever, someone in the Sky Sports hosting panel before the Wakefield Toulouse game, the Magic Week, and they said whoever loses this one will probably get relegated. Well, Wakefield lost that one against Toulouse and are now sitting last, so that could pay true. But, like I said, still a fair way to go.
They held on for the first 40 minutes, taking a narrow 4-0 lead, but then lost Max Jowett in this game, as well as Jay Pitts, and they're gone for the rest of the year. So that's more injuries Wakefield can't afford or to have. Meanwhile, the Robins, within the first 10 minutes of the second half, they blasted their way through to then be up by 8 points to 4. Or Kindhorse Ryan, both the flankers, is getting up and about. Ryan on one side, Kindhorse off the bench, I believe, on the edge. So they came through very thick and fast. And then, of course, was Lachlan Coote icing the game. But it was Mikey Lewis, I think, that really broke the camel's back. At 84 run meters, 2 try assists, and a single line break to his name.
Yeah, he's been one of the, even, what do you say, the past month, Hull KR have been playing as well. Or a little bit more, or a little bit less, give or take. He's been one of the standout players, even in those heavy defeats and that. So, credit to him. And
Mikey Lewis, he is just such a good player to watch from outside the top contender clubs.
Yeah, it's just a shame he hasn't quite got the. I'm not saying Hull KR are a bad team, but their performances and form as of late haven't been up to their standards. So it's a bit of a shame at the moment that Mikey Lewis can't really get the team going to help him going, because if he performs well and the rest of the team play off the back of him, then they could be having more and more wins. But they haven't been doing that as of late.
Well, they were building towards something, and it was always going to be a challenge for them, as we've said at the start of the year. I think around about, what would it have been, 44, 45?
Yeah, possibly.
That we said this would have been an uphill battle for Hull KR to come back from after that high of being 80 minutes away from the grand final.
Yeah, and it certainly has been tough for them.
But Wakefield, it's now like time is the noose around their neck at the moment, and the drop zone is only weeks away.
Yeah, see, if Wakefield keep going the way they're going and Toulouse keep going the way they're going, Toulouse could easily not be relegated. Like I reckon the next 2 to 3 weeks is very crucial for both sides. If Wakefield keep on going downhill, well, they're gone. And vice versa for Toulouse, if they start going downhill again and Wakefield turn around and start going up, it would determine. So I reckon over the next 2 to 3 weeks is going to be very crucial for both teams.
Well, as for Warrington, they have not fared well whatsoever. A first half form slump saw the Casper Tigers jump out to a 23-0 lead.
Half-time field goal.
From Danny Richardson.
And they're actually going to win. And what's your theory? They go...
If you kick a first half field goal, you're bound to lose in the second half. But
well, that didn't happen.
Alas, Castleford dispelled that notion for the time being, but
But
not before the Warrington Wolves put on a blitz in the second half to try and fight their way back into it.
You've read my mind. I was just about to say Warrington were down, and I think it was about roughly in the middle period of the second half, they started putting on a bit of try blitz, and we're coming back at Castleford. But then fortunes turned around again, and Castleford got back got to grips again and put on a couple more.
The first half obviously belonged to Danny Richardson. 1 try, 2 try assists, 43 run meters, 5 from 7 goals converted, and that drop goal to give Castleford a 23-0 lead. But Warrington weren't going to go quietly after this. Within the space of 26 minutes, they had run in 3 tries to make the game a bit more competitive, but late tries to Alex Sutcliffe and a couple more goals from Richardson put the game beyond reasonable doubt in what was Darryl Powell's first match at the Jungle in the colours of the Wire.
Well, there we go. I think what helped Warrington that middle period, or that period where he was scoring tries, is that Castleford did have a sin bin too. They were down to 12 players, so that helped Warrington a little bit, but, you know...
The slow start, they tried to finish fast, but they just couldn't finish it off.
Yeah. You need to start off fast and continue that on for the rest of the match.
And injuries, of course, would be a huge factor in this as well. Of course, we've got to keep in mind there has been no Jake Truman for Castleford since that win against the Huddersfield Giants. Any concerns for Warrington heading into this one?
I don't know, really. Well, they know that Widdop's gone for the year from Magic Weekend, so yeah, that's going to hurt them. I know he's one player and George Williams is just as good at halfback, but if you haven't got that 5'8" to support you, it's going to be tough.
Now, we got both these clubs, Warrington, Hull KR, that are battlers at this point in time to try and jump into the top 6. It's right here. And Warrington already down a man as Mike Cooper makes an immediate switch to the Wigan Warriors. What are you reading to that?
That's a bit of a surprise move, to be honest, but I suppose if Mike Cooper wants to win a premiership or championship, or what they get called, he's got a good chance of doing it this year with Wigan, what he does with Warrington. I wonder if that's going to be before he retires. If he's moved to Wigan this late in the year, I'd say this could be his last chance of... I could be wrong, but I'm thinking if he's made a late switch to Wigan, he wants to try and win the championship and then retire. And with going to Wigan, he's got a better chance of doing that than what Warrington does this year.
Well,
that's
we don't have any squad names. We don't have any squads named yet, but we do know, thanks to Love Rugby League's casualty ward, Riley Dean has been ruled out due to concussion, so he will not be taking part in the home clash against KR.
Well, that's a bit of a bummer.
So more than likely, I would probably think Josh Fulis would start at fullback, another winger brought in. Then Ratchford moves to standoff, and George Williams remains at scrum half. But of course, Castleford is losing Niall Evalds after doing his shoulder, after also losing Jake Truman and Ryan Hampshire to season-ending injuries. So those are the concerns so far. Don't think there's any real concern. There are a couple of blows for Hull KR as well. No Sean Kenny Dow and no Dean Hadley, of course. Or is Hadley doing his shoulder, and SKD also got an elbow to the throat.
Oh, that's not good.
In the victory against Wakefield. So there's a bit of even up with injuries. Of course, Kenny Dow's been one of KR's near consistent performers, and Dean Hadley a bit on the in and out, depending from time to time.
Yeah, so it really comes down for this match about who's
not the walking wounded.
Not only that, but who can adapt to their injury toll better. And with both teams not playing, out of the two teams, Warrington have come close a couple of times to winning, more than what Hull KR have. So I'm going to actually lean towards the Wire for them to win 7-12.
I'm going Warrington to win this 1-6. I think they'll go back to the blueprint they set down against the Catalan Dragons, and I think if they can do that well, they will go on to win not necessarily comfortably, but they'll put the Robins under immense pressure.
Yeah, and see who comes out on top, really.
Now, from one side of Hull, we moved to the other as Hull FC will play the Casper Tigers at the Jungle. Now, he already told you that there is no Niall Evalds on top of Ryan Hampshire, but can you guarantee Hull will bounce back after a devastating 16-0 loss at this rate?
No. Hull FC have been hot and cold all year long, and they're still somehow in 6th, I believe.
Yep, they're ranked 6th.
So I don't know how the hell they're still sitting just inside the playoffs of how hot and cold they've been all season long.
Well, for Hull FC, the injuries haven't been kind to them either. Chris Sarte went off in the first minute of the game with a HIA, but he did return. But he would still probably. He also picked up an ankle injury as well, so further assessment will be required.
Double whammy.
And Josh Griffin has an issue with his hamstring, leaving the action early, which leaving Hull down to 15 for a period did not do well whatsoever. But the good news, they say, from Love Rugby League's casualty ward, they could welcome back Licky Sow, Kane Evans, Jordan Johnston, Manu Ma'u, and Connor Wynn, all for the clash against the Tigers. So there's some massive forward power that they're going to be getting back into the side.
Especially like Kane Evans and the like. So that is probably much needed time to do it. Realistically, good timing, I would say.
Even with the forward reinforcements they're getting, I think you look at the Casper Tigers and how well they've played. Somewhat. I mean, they're sitting 5th on the table, so they can lock Hull FC further towards the chasing pack, 7th through the 10th, while they try and keep ties with the top 4 and maybe even lock in a home semi-final if that's possible, but I highly doubt.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a tight one there for Casper to see if they can lock down a home final, like you said. But the way that both these teams are playing, Casper are in a better form and do have a more realistic chance of winning what Hull FC does. Although, like you said, Hull FC will be looking to bounce back big time after that absolute demolition against Wigan. So, overall, I'm going to say Castleford to win this one 13+.
I'm going to say Castleford a little bit tighter, 7 points to 12. But I wouldn't be surprised that the Black and Whites did another upset, that they are specialists in their West Yorkshire rivals. Now, moving on to the first clash on Sunday, we have the Catalan Dragons at home to the Huddersfield Giants. Of course, Catalan reeling with injuries left, right and centre after going down to Salford 32 points to 6. The Giants got nilled by an 11-man St Helens side, 25-0.
Well, yeah, St Helens had Soriano Italia sent off, which I think was harsh. I personally believe that was a harsh call there. A sin-bin would have been a better penalty to fit the crime, but not a send-off. But somehow, St Helens still managed to pull it off. And then they yet again had a sin-bin into, I can't remember who it was.
As I believe it was Morgan Knowles that got sin-binned.
But yeah, like I said, down to 11 players with like at least 10 minutes of the match. And it still managed to hold Huddersfield scoreless. That is unbelievable.
It is absolutely remarkable, given the fact that Will Hopewati was also knocked out within the first couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So they were down to... They were practically, when all was said and done, there were only 14 men left if they were fit for St Helens. 1 in the bin, 1 was sent off, and the other 12 were all out there on the field.
Yeah.
Well, 11, I should say.
That is unbelievable.
But
that just goes to show how classy and professional St Helens are. No matter how many players... They could have bloody 5 players out in the field and still manage to win.
I highly doubt 5.
Well, maybe not as low as 5. Maybe 10.
If there were 5 Super Saints, then maybe, but...
Maybe 10.
The scramble and the defence that St Helens laid on, it was just absolutely first class. And once again, the idea, this was brought up in the commentary box, that not only that they're of the belief that St Helens could compete with the best in the NRL, but they could thrive in the NRL, the way they play. And they showed again that they could. If if the World Club Challenge between them and the Penrith Panthers was to be held next Saturday, with all, regardless of who's pays for what, if Saints came out, or if they went over there at Penrith to play the World Club Challenge,
it would be an absolute juicy matchup.
it would be. It would absolutely be a juicy matchup.
Even the year before, when St. Helens won for the second year in a row, and Melbourne?
Yep, Melbourne.
Yeah, they were in a juicy matchup as well. But unfortunately, we didn't get to see it.
No, we did not.
And they're not even doing makeup games for it, which is sad as
Well, how can you do makeup games when St. Helens been the champions for the last 3 seasons?
We'll keep St. Helens over somewhere and make the others travel.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. But I do know that Jack Wellesby really stood up here once again. 1 try assist, 176 run meters, 8 tackle breaks, and a drop goal to his name. This defensive display, could anyone chase St. Helens down for the League Leaders' Shield?
I don't know. It's going to be tough. Wigan could do it. Catalans, with their loss, which we'll touch on in a sec, against Salford, didn't really help their cause. Although Huddersfield are sitting in the top 4, are they not?
Yeah, Huddersfield are 4th.
Well, then,
Or 3rd, actually. Catalans in 4th.
This doesn't help them either. But if anyone could do it, I reckon it could be Wigan. That could knock off St. Helens, but
it would come down to both their respective draws, to say the least. Now, getting back for Huddersfield, their opponent, the Catalan Dragons, got their wounds licked big time here. They lost Matt Whitley and Julian Bousquet from this game, whilst the Salford right edge ran riot, with at least 4 of the tries being scored down Salford's right edge of attack.
Yes. When I saw that was only half-time score, but when I saw the half-time score, I said, no way, surely not. And I saw full-time, I was like, holy shit, we actually knocked off a top 4 contender.
And the reigning league leaders, just to emphasise the point.
I would have thought about that 2 months ago. I would have thought, no way we've got a chance of beating Catalans. Well, having fortune's changed big time.
Fortune favoured the brave, I should say.
In the last few weeks, we belted the heck out of Wakefield.
Mm-hmm.
We just beat Warrington. We lost last time out before Catalans.
Huddersfield at Magic Weekend.
To Huddersfield, yeah. And then we won against Catalans, if I get that order right.
Yep.
So we've won 3 out of the last 4, and we're just outside the top 6.
At this rate, a win against the Catalan Dragons, and if Warrington beat Hull KR, you would pass Hull FC for 6th on the table.
Yeah. And what was your prediction for Salford?
That they would lose.
Well, not only that, overall for the season.
The ones to be relegated.
I think that's going to come. I know there's still a long way to go, but I think Salford are too far clear of Toulouse and Wakefield for that to happen.
And we'll touch more on Toulouse shortly, but absolute standout performance from Ken Sio. 3 tries, 82 run meters, 3 tackle breaks, and 2 line breaks. But you're travelling to the south of France, where you've got a Catalan side licking its wounds and probably looking for a big performance at home between them and Huddersfield.
Yeah, it's got to be a good one there.
And there's still speculation Tui Lolohea might not be fit for this game, or he might be able to do so. Well, actually, within the next fortnight following his ankle injury.
I'd say.
But they will not have Jermaine McGilvery as they look to recall Lewis Senior from Hull KR effective immediately to cover for the loss.
There you go. So, with Lolohea, I don't know if you risk him a week, like you said, the next fortnight, so that could be this week or next. I don't know, do you put him back in this week and risk it, or do you be safe and leave it for one more week? I would leave it for one more week.
This is going to test Catalan's depth now. Because I would imagine both Benjamin Julien and Corentin Lecam will now take more responsibility within the pack, just to say the least. I mean, of course, Gudamon, Sagea, yeah, they really need to muscle up here because considering that you get Napa suspended every other week,
Pretty much.
it does not help whatsoever. And losing Bousquet and, of course, Dudson. I don't think Gil Dudson's been spotted for a while, or was he in
No,
last...
he's been a bit quiet. Like, I know he was out earlier on in the season, but he came back and I haven't heard much of him this season.
I'm just going to double check that just for complete accuracy that he has...
But this is a top 4 battle we're talking about here.
Oh, no, he was left out of the 17-man squad on that day, but I can bank on Joe Chan to step up when it's needed the most.
And he's shown it before that he can do it, though.
He'll be a good signing for Melbourne, definitely.
Massive
All right,
signing.
final prediction. Where do you see this one going?
I'm going to say flip of a coin. It's a tough match. And like I said, top 4, Catalans at home to Huddersfield.
I'm more willing to be banking on the home side to redeem themselves after getting smashed by a mid-table side. I'm going to say the Dragons win this 1-6 in a much improved performance.
But Huddersfield have been looking to bounce back after getting nilled by
The
St.
champions,
Helens. Yeah. I'm actually going to say Huddersfield win this one 1-6.
All right, so you're going to call it the Giants 1-6 win. And
Yeah, it's a tough one, but yeah.
well, speaking back on Salford, they will be travelling also to the Alpha France, but this time going for the Stade Ernest Wallon to face Toulouse Olympique, with the speculation that Dan Sargentson could be available before the end of the campaign.
That would be good.
To a stacked backline, that's pretty much a good headache to have.
Yes, a very good headache there for poor Ollie. Do Toulouse go 4 in a row, or do Salford end it?
Well, that's the question. Because the last time they met, Salford put a fair number on Toulouse.
That is true. But Toulouse are now better than what they were.
They are much improved,
And
yes.
Salford,
And it's another home field advantage for the Olympique.
And I think Salford have even improved from that match.
Norman v. Croft. That's the battle that everyone's going to be focused on with this game. Because Norman, remember, Betfred player of the match in the win at Magic that got Toulouse on this run.
Yes.
Brodie Croft literally dragging Salford kicking and screaming back into some of these contests in recent weeks.
He's coming in fine form, Brody Croft. I rated him to be playing, like, he didn't get much game time in Melbourne Storm. And I thought, he'll have a pretty solid season. Well, he's coming up to, I believe he's slowly building up to it. Not being
This is going to be a hard one. It's going to be highly entertaining, no doubt about that.
I reckon it's going to be high scoring.
But the question is, can Toulouse go with what Salford are offering?
I don't know. I reckon this is one of the games of the round.
I'm going to go with Salford 7-12. I think they'll be on that high after down in Catalan and in the fashion that they did. And I would expect Mark Sneed to be controlling that game and getting the underrated Salford forward pack to dominate through the middle of the field.
Yeah. So, like I said, I've just said this one could be gaming around. If it's not gaming around, the other top of the table clash of Huddersfield Catalans could be. Look, I don't know. I'd like to get on and keep sticking with Salford to win, but the rate Toulouse are going, they're kind of my second favourite team. So, yeah. But I'm going to stick with Salford. I'm going to say Salford 1-6. It's going to be an absolute entertaining clash and high scoring game.
And finally, of round 20, sees Wakefield at home to the reigning champions, of course. No Max Jowett, no Jay Pitt for Trinity, probably no Will Hopewati for the champions, but they still got Mark Percival to come back in there somewhere at some stage.
Wakefield might not bother turn up and forfeit. I mean, what was that? It was if the games couldn't get played full field last year, it was like 24-0 automatic win.
And they bumped it up this time to 48-0 if you couldn't field. But that was only health protocols. So far, there has been no serious trouble with the health protocols.
But, with the health protocols, like, when say 48, Saturns could probably do that regardless. No. Well, you just have to look at them. First, last.
It is exactly that.
It can even be like a similar scoreline to what?
And I think the champions will keep Toulouse in Super League just for a little while longer before that crucial round 27 clash with the champions playing host to the second French side. I'm going to go with the champions 7 points to 12 here. I think they'll just be too strong for a demoralised Wakefield.
Over Wakefield.
Too strong for Wakefield.
So you're 7 to 12 margin. That's interesting. I reckon we could see another scoreline like we can hold see here. I'm going to say St. Helens 13 plus big time.
Well, there you go. One that thinks a competitive scoreline against Trinity. The other one thinks they're going to be blown off the park
Easy.
as usual.
It's first, last. Unless Wakefield pull off an absolute miracle, I'll be very surprised. But no, don't see it happening.
Well, one headline that did surprise all of us during the middle of the week, and this is a little bit of England news we're going to be talking about right now. But Victor Radley, after 2 months umming and ahhing, has chosen to declare his allegiances to England and the RFL for the World Cup at the end of the year.
That's a surprise. I don't think anyone saw this one coming, to be quite honest.
No one saw this coming.
I don't think he would have got selected in the Kangaroo squad.
Well, apparently he was on Mal Meninga's radar with this. Now he's firmly on Sean Wayne's radar with this.
Yeah. Well, now Mal Meninga apparently said he wants all the players to determine their alliances so he can get a train-on squad going. But, I mean, Radley might have been in a train-on squad, but I don't think he would have been in the final 17 for the World Cup. But you never know.
Well, you never know indeed, but I think no one saw this coming whatsoever. Of course, it is interesting because Radley is eligible for England because his father was born in Sheffield.
Yeah.
So apparently, because of that rule, which if your grandfather or your father's born in England, that you are, by definition, eligible to represent.
Or wherever, not just England, but wherever in the world. Where is Sean Wayne going to play him, or what's he going to do with him? Though?
Well, I think Wayne will keep his eye on Victor Radley, to say the least. Of course, he chose John Bateman to play loose forward in their last game against the Combined Nations All-Stars, which does not contribute towards their IRL world ranking. And neither did the Great Britain. Well, the Great Britain tour did, but that negatively impacted them.
But would you play him in this 17, or do you just keep him in this like the extended squad in the camp just to get the experience?
I would have no doubt that Victor Radley will be picked for England, and if he can maintain, if the Roosters go on a good run, which I think they're gearing up for, if they charge into the finals, Radley plays well. I think it'll be a shootout between himself and Morgan Knowles for the loose forward role in the 17 come the World Cup. Because I think at this stage, Sam Tompkins is a lock at full back. I would give one wing spot to Tommy Makinson, the other going the way of Ash Handley. Jack Wellesby, Jake Wardle, the centres. Johnny Lomax standoff. George Williams, scrum half. After a lot of questions. John Bateman, Elliot Whitehead, second rowers. I think Liam Barrell you would have off the bench. I think he would go with Paul McShane at dummy half. Walmsley Thompson to start up front because I think Thompson will be back and he'll make a case. Then I think alongside Farrell on the bench, Tom Burgess is on the bench. Maybe not Jackson Hastings, I think, because Hastings, McQueen, and Blake Austin are all eligible. I don't think they'll get picked, either one of them, but I think Radley's more likely to be picked in and amongst that, and maybe between Mike Cooper and Mikolaj Ledsky to make up the rest of the 17.
Yeah, fair enough. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes, though, but Radley, he has dined out with the judiciary a couple of times, so he is known to the judiciary.
If he can keep his nose clean, I think...
Well, even injuries too. He's had a bit of a bad luck of injury.
I think by this point, and this is not a knock against Morgan Knowles, because I think he's the best loose forward in Super League by a country mile. But you have the profile of Victor Radley, and of course it comes back to what Adrian Morley is saying, that he does not believe that Super League can compete with the NRL at this point in time. And those Englishmen that are born in Australia that have, through the grandfather parent and rule, will probably get the start. I'm trying to find his comments that he said. He was very, very dry about his commentary on the matter. Of course, Super League's he's going through a bit of change at the moment, but I do have his quote. Brian here, quote, "I can't see the British game getting up there in the foreseeable future. Even when Super League had the money and they were bringing over current Kangaroos and State of Origin players like Trent Barrett, the standard still wasn't as good as the NRL." Going on to say, hey, the money's all in the NRL. Well, the best British players were going there rather than the other way around. That it's only going to weaken Super League and can't get towards the standard of the NRL.
I can see what he's saying there, but yes, it's rugby league, but the tempo and the physicality of the Super League NRL is completely different. You wouldn't think so, but it is. I think NRL is more physical and faster than what the Super League is.
Well, you can even see it in the statistics that we read out there. I mean, we get some close games, don't get me wrong, but when you just look at it through revenue, crowd numbers, is market appeal, Premier League, Rugby Union, and I don't know what else dominates the British sporting landscape, but hopefully with IMG, they can get their finances sorted, help bring France in line with what the RFL's future plans are, and help make the Northern Hemisphere more competitive moving forward.
I hope so. If they want to grow the game, they need to do that. And even some of the crowds, like at the Super League, you can tell they're not sold out. Like, obviously, the grand final gets sold out, or has been sold out in the past, depending on who's playing. But even regular club matches, if you're like, I don't think Magic Weekend even got sold out.
About 63,000 in a possibility of 102,000.
Yeah, see, that's just over half, or whatever. But yeah, but.
We still like watching it.
Yeah, it still brings entertainment factor, and you get to get familiar with players over there that might eventually come out here one day.
And that's the thing. With all the storylines with players and clubs. Before I watched Super League, I only got half the story. Now that I watched it, I get the full picture. I can picture everything that goes on with Rugby League. Players that leave the NRL, I can follow them in Super League and see how they do, whether they struggle, flourish, or otherwise. And it's the same story here. The best of England, France, Wales, Scotland, Ireland come down here to try and prove themselves, of course. Oliver Gildart hasn't had the best time. Dominic Young's starting to flourish in this environment.
Well, even Widdop when he first came out here.
Gareth Widdop, George Williams, John Bateman, all examples of Englishmen coming out here. And with Joe Chan being probably the first Frenchman to come out to these shores for some time, it'll be very interesting to see how Craig Bellamy gets the best out of him right there.
But going into Melbourne, he's going into a wonderful system down there.
It's first class.
He'll just slot straight in, I reckon, pretty much like a knife through butter. He'll slot in there very easily.
I have no doubt he will flourish in the Storm system. But on that note, it is full time from us here. If you like this part or the NRL debrief we put up yesterday, make sure you leave a like on this one, hit the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications so you never miss a week of Rugby League action. Don't forget to give us a follow on our social media pages on Facebook and on Instagram at Sideline Chat. And on Twitter is at Sideline Chat RL. You can also use the hashtags Sideline Chat RL or Side Chat YT. Hope you enjoy all the Rugby League action that unfolds over the weekend. And don't forget, as we said yesterday, tomorrow we have the Cowboys Career Mode series back on from Friday midday Australian Eastern Standard Time. Along with Mark Hendry, I'm Connor Marcellus, and you have been listening to the Sideline Chat podcast. We'll see you next week.
See you later.